Hi, friends.
Hello, friends. It's Caitlin and Shanika with Get Checkered, which is part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally owned and community supported. Yes, I'm looking at my phone. We always have our notes on the phone. Today, we want to give a shout out to a fellow Alberta Podcast Network member. The Color Gap, Shazaya, shares unconventional career strategy and advice for women of color by women of color. And as a woman of color, I think that's really, really important. So you can head to albertapodcast.com to learn more.
Very cool.
Now, Caitlin, how was your week?
You know, it was pretty good. Pretty uneventful. How was your week?
My week was very, very busy, but also fairly uneventful. And then even in the world of Formula One, there wasn't too much, except we do want to give a shout. I don't even know who the person is. There's some comedian impersonator-esque person who did the best impressions of Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, and Kimi Räikkönen, right?
Yeah, and I think, did he do some team principles?
Yeah, I think he did too.
Yeah, if you guys can go look that up. Shanika found it on Twitter. I found it on TikTok. It ended up on Instagram. We put it as a story. Like, it was great. I think it was ESPN F1 actually that we took our story from.
Yeah, there we go.
So on Instagram, go look them up. And this guy was just like, it was beautiful. It was great to see.
So funny because he nailed it. When we say that he went from Max to Carlos, I just don't know how he mimicked them so well.
Like, so well.
It was so surprising.
And it's not just two, right? It was like, how many people did he do?
He did so many. Just the talent that we don't have came out. So
shout out.
That is something
don't know his name,
to shout out to that guy. Shout out to that man. That is something to check out. But yeah, other than that, it seems like we both had fairly uneventful weeks.
Yep. We had time change last weekend. So, you know, the sun's going down at like 4:30 p.m. for us.
Yeah, it's not great. Oh, Caitlin's been on a giant purge and selling everything cycle right now. So she's uncovering a lot of beautiful.
Shanika's making fun of some of the stuff. I'm like, my aunt bought this for me when I was 7.
It's not funny. It's just that it's a very ornate lamp, okay, for our listeners that have no idea.
It's a very nice lamp.
It's very sweet for like a child, and I think it gives like Peter Pan vibes.
Because I was 7.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, so she's getting rid of a lot of stuff for her big move to Vancouver, which is huge. So if you are in Vancouver and a listener, hit us up because Caitlin has, how many friends do you have in Vancouver?
Not many.
None. She has no friends.
Wow, that's a bit harsh, but okay.
So yeah, anyways, that's all of the life updates. But we did have some stuff get confirmed though when it comes to Formula One, hey?
Yep. Some Formula One updates from this week was a bit more exciting than our lives. So we all remember Brazil. And there was that one overtake that Lewis was trying to do on Max, and Max looked like he pushed Lewis way wide and they both went off the track, and no one saw Max's onboard with the steering wheel, and the stewards still made their call even though they had not seen that. Well, turns out throughout the week we ended up seeing that onboard, and I'm interested to know your thoughts on this. I was talking to someone at work about it. I'm like, from my perspective, like it looked like Max was not letting loose on his wheel. Like it looked like he was really trying to make the turn. How you saw it too?
Yeah, after seeing the onboard, I mean, I do think it was just like he really pushed it to the limit on.
Yeah, his car just like couldn't do it, right?
Yeah, which is like very similar to the Pierre Gasly lockup that we talked about in that episode, right? Where it's like Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon. The only difference is we could see Pierre really exaggerate, I guess. Like he didn't exaggerate, but we could see the struggle at his car lockup versus like Max. It was way harder to tell. But after seeing the onboard, it was like, okay. What are your opinions on them taking it to the international, whatever, sporting something, Toto and Mercedes?
Oh, I thought like, I'm not surprised they did that. They'll fight for everything and see if they can maybe get mercy out of anyone. But I agree with the call they made during the race.
Yeah.
I thought it was racing. Turned out it looked to be like it just was very hard racing.
Yeah. I also agree. I think that why Mercedes, I think the precedent they're trying to set by going to the international sporting motorsport something, we should have this written down. We don't, sorry. Is more so like maybe you shouldn't make calls like this if you don't have the full information,
which is very valid.
Which is also valid. Yeah. But even Toto said he wasn't expecting it to go much farther than that. So I think, I don't know if it was a win overall. I don't know if it was a waste of time. I don't know, but I think it's good to have it like, hey, maybe you just wait until you get all the footage before you make a call like that, even though the stewards were right. So whatever other information the stewards had was probably spot on. So sorry for talking shit. Our last episode, it probably was me that was talking shit. So.
But hey, we didn't see everything until now.
Apologies.
Also some of the big news that came out this week had to do with that coveted Alfa Romeo second seat.
Yeah. So Italian Jesus, unfortunately,
he's our age, and his dreams just got crushed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
I'm sorry.
Why are we framing it in that way? Yeah. He will not be renewing his contract, or I guess actually Alfa Romeo will not be renewing his contract. I don't think Geo had the choice in this. So we did get official announcements. Obviously there was a lot of leaks going on, but that Guanyu Zhou will be partnering with Valtteri Bottas, which is very exciting. He is the first Chinese full-time F1 driver, right? Like he's the first one to be in Formula One full-time.
So it's massive for F1 and for the Chinese nation.
Yeah.
Like finally seeing representation in F1.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Some more about Guanyu is like our homeboy Lando. He's 22 years old, so he's still a young gun. He is going to be the only Gemini on the grid next year.
Interesting,
right?
Yeah.
Actually, wait. Have we done the horoscopes of anyone else coming in?
I don't think so. Who else is coming in?
I don't know. Is there anyone new?
Hold on. Let's look at the teams. We know George is. Alex Albon's the only one that we don't know.
Quick search.
This is why we need a producer who can fact check us.
Okay, you guys, Alex Albon is an Aries.
Okay.
So he'll be joining Mick Schumacher. So yes, okay. The statement stands true. The only Gemini on the grid will be Guanyu Zhou. So what happens to Geo though?
Yeah, so Geo is heading to Formula E. I think that I was really surprised with how quickly they announced this. So there were some rumors going around on F1 Twitter that Geo did not know for sure that he was losing the seat up until like 1 or 2 days before it was publicly announced. Which I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's just, F1 Twitter, just being F1 Twitter. But when it comes to Geo, he quite quickly, or maybe already had it in the works, joined a Formula E team. So it's Dragon and I don't know how to pronounce this. Penske Autosport. Oh God, I did not know that. Sorry, I'm looking at Caitlin's notes.
Yeah, so last season they finished 11th out of the 12 teams on the grid. So there's room for growth.
There we go. I'll say that. That's good.
They are known and notorious for a quick turnover of their drivers since they joined the league.
So so do they turn over to other teams?
I don't know. I didn't look up that part.
Damn.
But this could be just like the foot in for Geo. Do we think Formula E might just it might get very big going forward? It might.
I mean, I think with the movements that we're seeing in general towards more environmentally friendly things, whether it's in Formula One or in motorsport, I would think so, right? So we hope it's getting big. We're going to Formula E in Vancouver.
We'll see you there, Geo. Geo does have just a little bit of experience already in Formula E as well. So we learned that he has participated in a young rookie test back in 2018 with DS Virgin Racing. So he's not a complete stranger.
And it's good that he's staying in motorsport, because I think always the concern is that where are you going to go? I'm curious to see if he ends up moving into IndyCar or doing Le Mans or whatever.
We'll keep our eyes out. I have no idea what that boy will have up his sleeve.
I don't know. Roman Grosjean is killing it in IndyCar, so who knows? Maybe that'll be a transition that happens at some point. We also got this kind of a fun announcement about Oscar Piastri. He is going to be the reserve driver for Alpine.
Yeah, so he's
thank God.
Yes. Something positive happening for Oscar. I'm pretty sure he's still leading the F2 championship. So it's like the fact that he wasn't going to get an F1 seat is like, it's heartbreaking for him, but at least he's going to he'll be there.
Yeah.
He'll be in the paddock. He'll be
driving the car.
Hopefully he gets some races in.
Yeah.
Not anything bad happening to the Alpine drivers, but hopefully like Oscar's given a chance to fill in. And then we'll see where that takes him for 2023. But he's already driving with Alpine, so it's good. He's staying with them. Like Guanyu going to a different like family, like the Alfa Romeo and the Ferrari family. I don't know. It's just kind of nice that Oscar's staying with like the ones he was brought up with.
Yeah, and it's also like you said, it for Alpine, it's good because then all this time and effort you put into training a driver, essentially raising a driver, you still have the opportunity to have them drive for you.
Shanika made a hilarious comment as we were watching the race today about Oscar. What did you say?
He's just okay. It's not just Oscar, just I always forget how short these drivers are. And it's not to say that that's a bad thing, but it always is jarring compared to like someone like Toto, or sometimes like other people on the team, how small they are, like just like they could fit in your pocket. They are short kings though. We have love a short king.
I saw a really good meme online and I can't remember, it was Tom Holland and maybe Shawn Mendes, and they were going back and forth, but like Shawn's tall, I guess, and Tom Holland's pretty short. He's like, what would you rather have, a dog or like a giraffe or something? It was a dog versus something, and everyone's like, of course you're going to pick the dog. So is that a win for the short guys?
It's a win for the short king.
So
just saying. But it was quite striking in the post-race interview that he was doing with F1 TV. I think it was like, oh, you're so small. They're so small. It's okay. They can drive way better than us.
Yep, we're excited to see him next year
and to have his presence around more.
He was cute. He was like best work experience ever on a sign as he's on the pit wall.
Oh, it's exciting to see these young guns come up.
Yep. So I'll be the second Australian on the grid for next year, so that's a lot of fun.
Right. And if the offer still goes out there, if anyone knows any millionaires who can help fund, I know that there's like, they're trying to say like, oh, it's not a paid seat, but still you need sponsorship dollars. So if you know a rich Australian that can cut some checks for Oscar Piastri, don't let us know. I feel like we're probably useless.
We don't need to be the middleman here. Just go straight to the source.
Maybe reach out to the Alpine team and let them know, or Oscar directly. I don't know.
Yep. That is our recommendation. Shanika put this note in, and it boggles my mind, guys. So
I don't know what's going on at Team Red Bull. I think we need to get someone on the podcast that isn't so like, we're like so hard on Red Bull, so we need someone that's equally hard on Mercedes. But Joe Verstappen, who is Max's dad, I don't know where he made this statement, whether it was like an in-person radio TV interview or if it was just to a journalist and they put it down in an article, but he's basically insinuating that Lewis was given drugs. And the direct quote is, in Brazil, Hamilton gets something pressed into his hands by his trainer, and then he walks back to the car and drives it into the cockpit. All in all, it's just weird. Max did not stand a chance. It seems to me very strongly that they're doing something that is not allowed.
What?
There's so many things wrong with this. One, we know that Angela gives him normally a hair tie, water, a mask, sometimes a towel. Sometimes he gets a towel beforehand. Those are the things. So what Joe is talking about is likely a ponytail, like a hair tie.
Like here's your hair tie right here, right there.
Yeah.
There's your good luck hair tie, which, I don't per se have a good luck hair tie, but if I did, I'd want that for the race day.
Exactly. So it's bizarre. And then frankly has some weird racial undertones. Like, why is the black man the one, like, why wasn't this comment made about Geo? So it's very strange. Geo's also got long hair. So like, is it the long hair that makes you go faster? Is it the ponytails that make you go faster? Or is it Joe Verstappen saying something that's like so blatantly, like not even coded in racism? It is racist. I think what would tip it over the edge though is if someone had asked like, oh, what drug do you think it is? Because that's also a way to suss out what this guy's thinking. But Max, like, don't let your dad talk to you.
No, that's not the right thinking for this sport. Well, for any sport. To just, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
We don't like it. We will be following what he has to say. And we'll be following what Helmet has to say later on in this episode.
Yeah.
But it's just like the Red Bull team is just not making me like them right now.
I know. We need, I'm going to give a shout out to again, our listener, Nicole, who likes Red Bull, loves Checo. Maybe we need to have her be on the podcast.
I think so.
And then ending episodes to balance it out a little bit more because we are definitely struggling in behavior. But I will say this, for every team, media training is not that expensive. You can train the parents, you can train the team principals, like even probably, Toto mouthing off to cameras and stuff. Not great either, not the best look. So,
and like, think of how many people you reach, right?
Yeah, like it's just, I get that you get angry, but like, let's just
well, the drivers walk around with like their PR agent afterwards.
Yeah. Their little media officer to help them get wherever they need to go. So maybe the team principals need some too, because right now the team principals and it seems like parents need them too. It's not great.
Yeah. But anyways, that's our updates from this week. It's the end of the triple header, so it's really felt long, this one, and we're not driving. We're not going between continents. But
I wonder, why did it feel this stretch feel so long? Do you think it is the later day races?
Maybe. Yeah, like for us watching the American and the Mexican GPs, it's like it pushed us filming the podcast to like 6 p.m.
Yeah. And
again, there's no light.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, and then you start Monday, you're not refreshed.
No.
So yeah.
And like editing it and getting it uploaded. So it just ends up being later. But I think even though today was an early start, I feel like we both feel pretty chipper.
Well, I mean, we have popcorn. We're happy.
Yeah. So sorry if you hear the crunching, but we're having a good time.
Yeah. Okay. But we're going to dive in for we have track facts coming up now.
Woohoo.
So the track itself, it's called the Losail International Circuit. It's located just outside a town called Lusail, and that is just north of Doha, Qatar. So Doha being the capital. Over 80% of the nation's population lives in Doha or surrounding suburbs. So that's really, where else do you live in Qatar then, is what I'm saying. Sorry. Doha is the political and economic center of the country. Okay. So as the commercial capital of Qatar and one of the emerging financial centers of the whole Middle East, it is considered a beta level global city by the Globalization and World Cities Research Network. Now, I didn't look up what the alpha ones were, but beta, not bad.
It's pretty good, yeah.
So, you guys, you may have also heard of the Doha, Qatar, because it will be hosting the 2022 World Cup. For North Americans for soccer, and for the Europeans
for everywhere else,
right? So we kept seeing cameos, and even on Instagram, there's a bunch of soccer stars
and a lot of heavy soccer promo.
Yeah,
I saw Valtteri get a goal, which I thought was cute.
Shanika was watching that. I was watching the famous peoples. But yeah, so lots of soccer stuff going on because I'm pretty sure they were saying it's a year to this date. Next year that it'll kick off. So,
okay.
So yeah, there were some famous football, retired stars there. So don't know if they were scoping out, checking out the area, bringing info back to the teams on what's happening, why they were there, but there were soccer legends there, right? So we had, and I put the note, God bless David Beckham. God bless David Beckham.
It doesn't I think collectively we've loved David Beckham for so long because think about it. He appeared on the scene when
we were youngins
in the 90s, right? Yep. So we were little children. Basically, this love affair with David Beckham has gone on for our entire life.
So yeah, David Beckham's there. And we actually like my first sight of him, he was in the McLaren garage.
Yeah.
But then there was pictures around that like he was over at Ferrari too. And he gives a hug to Christian Horner. And I was like, anyway, because that's my personal preference. I don't like Christian Horner in case you guys have not noticed, but yeah, still love David Beckham though, and he was there to see it. We had the Italian maestro, Andrea Pirlo was there, and I was like, why are you there? Interesting.
I don't know who that is. Who is that?
He was very like he was on the Italian team and he played. He was one of the best midfielders I think they said there ever was.
Oh wow.
Yep. So he's a head coach now. Juventus, I think, is what I saw.
Oh shit. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about football and or soccer. But Caitlin knows a lot. So.
It doesn't end there though, because there was John Terry. They had a picture taken of too. And I do have to add the caveat that like I'm not a John Terry fan. I think he's kind of odd. And he played with Chelsea, and I'm not a Chelsea girl, to be honest, you guys. I'm a big supporter of Liverpool. And before anyone gets on me about that, I have been in love with Liverpool, mostly because I was in love with Fernando Torres back in 2008. Okay. And ever since, I say God bless David Beckham, but like God bless Fernando Torres. So he left the team, but I bought a jersey and I'm committed at that point, and I've loved them ever since. And they did quite well. But yeah, John Terry was there.
I'm like, I don't know who this person is, but I can attest to the fact that Caitlin has loved Fernando Torres for all this time, because yeah, the only reason why I even started knowing anything about soccer is because Caitlin was like, these are the people.
Obsessed with this one.
Yeah. These are
so Fernando Torres did not play anymore, but he's a coach now, I think, for the Atletico Madrid juniors team. And he's like bulked out, you guys.
It looks good.
Yeah, go check it out.
Instagram.
I was like, I thought I loved you before, but here we are.
Very good right now.
Anyways, that's a big side tangent, but yeah, interesting.
Looking forward to it then. Hey, 2022.
And the Canadian men's national team.
Right,
you
in
guys.
Edmonton. We didn't even get to talk about it.
Okay, that's another update. That's something I did this week. I did literally like I got a 1 week free subscription to this streaming company that like because TSN wasn't even streaming the Canada game. So I'm on this random one, but I'm watching it. It's up in Edmonton. And so for anyone that's not familiar with Alberta, like we're in Calgary, so it's the southern city in Alberta. Edmonton is the capital. It's a bit more north of us. And it's pretty cold there right now. It was like -10 when they were playing. Felt like -15 with the wind chill. There was snow they had to clear from the field. And it's like they're playing the Mexicans. Do you think Canada had an unfair advantage there? Like
probably.
Hugely unfair advantage. But anyways, Canada goes on to win it. Like unprecedented.
Yeah, we're mostly known for our women's soccer team
who won gold at the Olympics, you guys.
Yeah, we're
no big deal. So the men really have to like pick up their game, right?
Yeah. So they qualified, right?
They're not qualified yet. They have 6 more games next year.
Okay.
But they're leading with the CONCACAF standings right now. Canada is leading.
Watch out, world.
Okay, another fun fact, just to keep this side tangent going. So there's a scene. I don't know if you guys would have seen it, but like it's one of the celebration. I think it's on the second goal, and there's a snow pile, and one of the Canadian guys just like jumps into the snow pile. It's just such a classic Canadian celebration is what they're calling it. He went to our high school.
What?
He was a year under us. His name is Sam Adekupe.
I don't know last name.
If you saw him, you would maybe recognize him.
Yeah.
But like, I knew of him as a soccer guy, and then I heard that he was playing with Vancouver Whitecaps, so I knew like, whoa, he must be pretty good. I didn't know he was playing the national team until they said that this name was the guy that like did the snowbank jump, and I was like, wait a second. So yeah, you guys. Winston Churchill, Calgary, Alberta,
creating the next soccer brilliance,
and some podcasts. So
the high school to go to. That's insane. So I mean, anytime that we can gas up Canada, we're gonna do it. So I'm glad that we did the side tangent.
Yeah. Hope
we're very proud right now.
We have not even got into race weekend yet. We're gonna get into some heavy stuff though.
I know. How do we make a segue into this? Okay, so
back on Qatar. Yeah.
Going back to Qatar, if we can rewind all this, the reason why we're talking about soccer is because of the World Cup.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yep.
But something that we know about the country is that it does not have very good or kind or even rights for LGBTQIA plus population. So some of the things that I found, thank goodness, again, Wikipedia just being the one place where we get all of our information. Again, sorry, professors that taught us to do otherwise. So male homosexuality is illegal in Qatar with a punishment of up to 3 years in prison and a fine and a possible death penalty for Muslims under Sharia law. However, it's important to note that no cases that have led to the death penalty has been enforced for homosexuality. And the Qatari government does not recognize same-sex marriage or civilian partnerships, nor does it allow Qatar to campaign for LGBT rights. So this is something that I feel like we've talked about significantly throughout the season, and something that has been a bit of a bother for us. It's just, how can Formula One balance going to these countries where they already have extensive contracts with, but then also standing up for what's right? And we saw Sebastian Vettel do it. Was it in Hungary with his shirt, which he later got in trouble for? I don't know. But this time around, Lewis had a pride flag on the back of his helmet, which he'll be wearing to the next race as well.
So interesting that you bring up, because Sebastian did get in trouble.
Yeah, and I think the reason why he got in trouble was because apparently you're not supposed to wear t-shirts during the national anthems or something.
Okay. So they like found a reason to get in trouble. Because I'm wondering if they didn't do that for Lewis.
And I also wonder with Sebastian Vettel if there was external pressure from the Hungarian officials or the Hungarian government to do something. Because I also think with Formula One, if you want to race in these places, like, yes, you need to be respectful, but also like, if your drivers are protesting, does it even make sense to be like, you can't wear a shirt? Because then aren't you just allowing really bad rhetoric? I don't know. I don't know what the answers are, but it's really concerning. I did see on Twitter that someone on Lewis's team actually passed it up the grapevine that they were really happy that Lewis was wearing the flag, which is something that I didn't even consider, because obviously when I look at all these human rights things, I think, okay, like the people in that country, like how horrible is that? But also there are probably and most likely queer people that are going with like part of the crew, like and the teams. Could you imagine how unsafe you would feel going into these countries, that just being yourself could lead to jail time and or like a death penalty, specifically for Muslims, but we don't know what people believe and follow on the team. So I don't know. I just don't have an answer. And I think that the way that we're going, it's going to become more and more of a problem, and the Formula One is going to have to make, and the FIA in general is going to have to make a decision on where they stand with this stuff, because
like playing the wishy-washy is
not going to work.
No.
Like, I think that we're seeing that, right? Like, there are certain things that people care about and you can't be in the middle. And also, I think it also allows Qatar to be like, oh, we're not bad. Or like, look, we let Lewis do what he wanted to do with a helmet. Like, we're not oppressing anyone. And it's like, but you are. So,
but like what happens in the circuit is not what happens in the country always, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, yes, we can see that, like, if there's no reprimation for Lewis wearing this helmet, that is good. And I think that's a step. But does it fix everything? No,
absolutely not. I also think something I want to mention is just the weird like double standard that's held for Lewis. Again, Formula One Twitter, I don't know what's going on with y'all, but I've been more in it lately and I'm like, what is happening? But it's like, Lewis is damned if he doesn't, damned if he doesn't. So he, said something about this, made a statement, but then people are like, but he's still racing there, but it's also like his job. So it's like a really weird line, but I think he's held at a very different standard than other drivers who are allowed to be quiet on these issues when I actually think they should be asked. Like, these are young men who, as much as people are like, oh, they're 21, 22, like they'll come to their own beliefs and then share them publicly. It's like, yeah, but a lot of them are building fan bases outside of Formula One, right? Likely very diverse ones. So they should be asked these challenging questions and should have stances.
How many times on this podcast do you guys think we've mentioned that we have some good questions we want to be on the paddock to ask?
Yeah, anyways, that's my giant rant about all this, but I'm really hoping that, I don't know what I'm hoping, but I'm hoping that sort of the new generation coming up will continue to make stands and then hopefully pressure the FIA.
I think it's like, it's important that it's like double standard for Lewis, but it's also like it's important that Lewis does this because he's at the top of the sport.
Yeah.
And so he's an idol to everyone.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone's looking at him. Yeah.
And so you're an idol to all these young F1 drivers now, and they're seeing you can make a stand and still be an exceptional driver. I think that's important for them to learn too.
And I think we've seen, you know, the whole idea of growing up into it. Like we've seen Sebastian Vettel get more and more vocal about his beliefs. I think this week he actually said there needs to be girls in Formula One.
Yeah, that was good to see.
Love to see it.
Yeah.
Sebastian Vettel has been, even though he's traveling everywhere, which like, you know, airplanes, whatever, we know that that's not great for the environment. Every place he goes, he keeps stopping at just hubs where he can learn more about environmental impact. So maybe it is an age thing as they hit their 30s and they think about what mark they want to leave on the world.
There?
That they move into it. But I hope the younger ones will start sooner.
Yeah. So sure. Like Georgia's going to be partnering with Lewis next year. So
and people love him.
Yep.
Everyone's always like, he's so marketable. And I'm like, maybe we don't see it because he's in the Williams and I don't know.
Maybe. Or Shanika and I are just like traumatized from it in our past. That like we know how to see ego.
Or we're just traumatized by that video of him dancing at the
if you guys have seen that, it's all over. We saw it on TikTok. It's like George just doing like the dance at the club and you're like, wow. Wow. But anyways.
All right, Caitlin, let us know about the circuit. What
some more news about the circuit. So this is the first time F1 will be racing here, but it has hosted other motorsport series. So it's kind of it was opened in 2004 for the inaugural Qatar MotoGP, pretty much.
Wow, cool.
And then they also hosted like Superbike and motocross here. And there are some other like car series that have raced here before too. It's not just motorcycles. But with F1, they've now signed a 10-year deal with this circuit to host from 2023 onwards, because 2022 is going to be, you know, right off because of the World Cup. So Shanika touched on and elaborated on the human rights issues. Adding to that is the fact that like it's kind of like it's the first or second sentence in almost all the articles I read about the circuit that it was built by 1,000 workers working around the clock in like under a year.
We got questions.
So that doesn't sound great, right? Like
no. And you know, obviously what other circuits were there issues like this where like there was two other ones that workers were either it came out publicly that they exploited. That they were exploited.
I don't know.
We talked about it in a few episodes ago, so it must have been recent. Anyways, it's scary. That number scares me for sure. The
fact that the Saudi Arabia GP is next and they're behind schedule, you know that they're just like working these workers to the bone to get it done in time now.
And I laugh because it's uncomfortable because
it's quite
like,
uncomfortable,
okay, so these workers work all these hours, get this done, and then they likely can't even afford to go. You know what I mean? Not great. It's not great, people.
Cost of this, and I don't have like a benchmark to compare it against, so it's just FYI, costs about 58 million USD.
Damn. Okay.
To complete that construction. So this circuit is surrounded by artificial grass because it is designed to prevent sand from the neighboring desert from blowing onto the circuit. Fair.
Yeah, honestly, it makes sense.
Yep. It is a 5.4 kilometer track. The main straight of that literally take you up 1 kilometer of that number.
Yeah.
At 16 turns, it will be 57 laps for that 300 kilometer mark. And then I learned that for this GP, for the F1 cars in particular, there were minor modifications to this track that had to be made specifically to the curbs. They added sausage curbs at some of the corners to discourage track cutting. And per se, like there were curb issues during the race. I don't think they had to do with the sausage curbs, but like just curb talk. They were not friendly curbs for the cars in this race.
Not at all.
And then I from the racefans.net, again, they're saying full throttle for the cars will be about 68% of the time. Seems to be average to some of the other recent tracks, and only 36 gear changes per lap. Again, compared to that like 66 number we saw at Coda, it's a bit better. And we don't have really any records to tell you guys on this one. Because this is the first time we have one. So if you do know, someone on Wikipedia was very fast, and they did put in that Max has the fastest lap record. I mean, true. So and then quick talk for the tires before we prep for race weekend is they will be going with the hardest 3 out of the 5 slicks. So that is the C1, C2, C3. And if you look at the Pirelli infographic for this track, they categorize the traction, braking, and asphalt grip as a medium, so 3 out of 5. The asphalt abrasion and downforce as a medium high, and actually lateral and tire stress as the max number 5 out of 5. So that explains why they're giving them the hardest set of the slicks. Pirelli has highly recommended a 2-stop strategy.
Which
keep that in mind. And on that note, we're gonna go into a quick ad break.
Woo! Okay.
You do this one.
This episode is brought to you by Rumi. Cold drafts, flickering lights. And where's that leak coming from? If you've ever wondered what's going on in your home, Rumi's Ask a Home Inspector service can help. Connect with certified home inspectors. Certified professional. Sorry, they are professionals. Home inspectors by phone or video call and get your questions answered. Rumi will let you know what's easily fixable with a little DIY, or when you might need a little bit of extra help, professional help. Visit rumi.ca, that's RUMI.ca, and book your Ask a Home Inspector appointment today.
You know what? That stuff I should probably be using. I'm not going to lie. What do you mean? I have a leaky drain from my kitchen sink.
Oh, well, now you know. Rumi.ca. I don't deal with any of that, so I'll be honest. So qualities, I was kind of bopping in and out on Twitter, but
yes, I had to watch it after the fact because I'm not waking up on a Saturday and a Sunday early. But I did watch it. So just an interesting fact is that at every new venue for F1 since 2010, the pole sitter has always won the race. I cannot get that out very easily for some reason. But yes, keep that in mind, right? So whoever gets pole here is like it's track that they might go on and win it. So we saw George Lucas was in the audience during quali. And one of the commentators says, "May the downforce be with you." And I died. Very good commentation. And then we did see George Lucas on race day Sunday too.
Yeah, he was supporting Lewis. And he's actually been in a few races. So it looks like we might have a stan on our hands.
And Shanika is saying that
he puts racing in his movies.
Yeah.
So it seems like this actually
is a passion.
Be something that he's interested in. And
I was asking, like, is he gonna like do an F1 film or something? But
maybe we don't F1 in space. Not sure.
There's an idea. Okay, so pretty much we're going to go through quickly the highlights. We had Q1. Unfortunately, Geo went out, so not good after the announcement that he's not keeping his seat either. It's just like you really want to just like stick it to them if they kick you out, but he didn't.
He's just has been unable to do so.
Bad Q1 for Alpha because it was both Geo and Kimi that went out. It was Latifi and both Haas. So Georgie actually made it into Q2.
Love to see it.
Yep.
Love to see it.
So I noted that it was quite odd after Q1 because the commentators were having a full-on conversation with Andreas Seidel, so McLaren's team principal, and like you could see his little box on the screen, so you knew he was talking, but you can't hear anything. And I'm like, this is quite awkward. Like, is it just is he not replying? Are they trying to prompt him to reply more? And then you realize, like, no, there must be another side to the conversation because like there's further questions going on. I'm like, just weird. Okay, come on, you guys, get the audio working.
F1 TV.
You have a full team.
Yeah. This has been constant.
Which is it's very interesting.
Especially when you're paying a subscription to a service, you expect good service, and their editing has been very odd in general.
Room for improvement.
Yeah.
So going into Q2, it was quite alarming. We have Leclerc saying, like, why am I losing all this time? I don't know like where I'm losing all my time versus he said in post-race interviews, like he usually knows where he's losing time, whether it's like the way he's driving or if it's like a balance in the car, but he's like, this time I really had no idea what was going on in my car. So that's not good to hear. He was in the bottom 5 in Q2.
Great.
So having a Ferrari not make it out of Q2 is like, That's good.
And it's been surprising, especially since they're on their upswing. Over the last
and
few races.
they've been doing all
consistent.
right. So who else went out? It was Perez.
Also a surprise. That one surprised me. When I saw that, I was like, bro, what happened? It's fine.
So Red Bull and a Ferrari are out. That's not good. You have Stroll out. You actually have Danny Rick out as well.
Not great.
So McLaren added to that mix out. And George Russell. But I mean, congrats on getting Q2, George. So interesting, like some Alpines and the AlphaTauris made it into Q1. Like they're kind of picking it up, right? So Q3, they're saying, like commentators are saying that the target time for the laps were like a 121. And then you see Lewis, like that's target. Like, can you even make a 121? Lewis just blasts that out of the water. He gets 120.
Insane.
And so we're all just like
the speed in that car. Insane.
Yeah. Gasly has a puncture just before reaching the finish line. Front wing comes off and he punctures his tire and everything. And because of that, it was the yellow flag, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the yellow flag and then double yellow flags when they realized what was going on.
So that has implications because Lewis finished his flying lap before that.
Yeah.
But Max and Valtteri didn't.
So they kind of got caught behind him. And honestly, they weren't the only ones that got caught behind him.
They weren't, but they're like in the top 4.
Exactly. The ones that are a bit more competitive and the ones that we need to know about. So it was unfortunate, but I think overall the great showing from, I would say, like you said, Alpine and AlphaTauri, like they did really well. Like
we ended up with Lewis in first with that 120, just blew people out of the water. And there was half a second between him in first and Max in second, which is significant. I think it's the biggest margin this year in quali. And then people like Jensen Button, I guess, are saying that Red Bull likely hasn't figured out what Mercedes has done to their car before they can even because obviously they're going to put a protest in.
Yeah,
you guys are calling it right now. Red Bull's going to put a protest in as soon as they know what Mercedes did though.
Yeah, and they don't know.
No, yeah. So we'll see. And then we get Valtteri in third. Gasly was in fourth, even with his puncture. He had a good time.
Good for him.
Alonso fifth, Norris in sixth, Sainz, Tsunoda, Ocon. How do you say this? Ocon, Esteban
Ocon or Ocon?
Please help us.
Let us know, please.
And Vettel. So we're mentioning Max was in second and Valtteri was in third, but actually we learned early today, race day Sunday, that there was grid place penalties.
Yeah, for ignoring yellow flags. And I think what's interesting is that the stewards just left us hanging. Yeah, like they went to bed last night while all of us were on Twitter being like, what is happening? Where's people placing? Because we wanted to put out our top 5, but I was just like, I don't know.
We just did it anyway.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what's happening. But what we end up learning is that because Valtteri ignored a single yellow flag, he was given a 3 grid place penalty. Max was given a 5 grid place penalty for ignoring 2 double white flags. We also we should mention Carlos Sainz was called to the stewards too, for also ignoring a single yellow flag, but then they chose not to. I wonder if it was just the timing of it versus where he was.
But yeah, where's the consistency? There's a solid question.
Yeah, so he didn't end up getting in trouble. He did get called to the stewards, and then we finally hear what was wrong with Charles's car. There was a crack in his chassis, which they were able to fix before the race, and then also that is allowed, so there was no sort of penalty for that.
Yeah, he was allowed to start in his place on the grid.
Well, it was kind of awkward though, because no one really knew where anyone was starting. Did you see that?
No.
Everyone
was trying to film a TikTok this morning of the cats. It took up a lot of time.
Yeah, so no one really knew because Valtteri's hearing was less than 2 hours or something before the race when it was all decided and said and done. So anyways, initially they had given him a different position and then corrected themselves. So he was actually in the wrong place, I think, initially when he got on the grid.
It's crazy.
I don't know what's
communication. Why is it so hard?
But I think what was so exciting for all the Pierre Gasly stands out there with all of these shuffles, that means we have Lewis starting in P1 and Pierre in P2. What the hell?
Very excited. That was his first time starting on the front row of the grid, I hear.
Yeah. And then, also Alonso in P3.
Yeah.
The fuck? That's crazy.
So I'm dying. It's the popcorn kernel. So yeah, we actually have like Lewis starting first, Gasly second, and Alonso third. Like it's okay, do you want to just cut the race day? It's lights out and away we go.
Yeah.
It's lights out and away we go. And those three have a fantastic start.
They do. Guess who has a better one though?
Yeah, Max. Surprise. He got pushed down to 7th, right?
Yeah.
From 2 to 7. And he ends up in 4th.
Yeah. I don't know. Like he just had speed. Like he was out there.
Was, like if you watch the replays, he starts on the left and he kind of like, he doesn't go full over to the right, but he cuts in the middle of all the cars and he's just like,
swings around on the inside and gets such good track position just right off the start. And though everyone else started well too, the one person that I feel like could have maybe done a little bit more to block him would have been Lando Norris, just where Lando was positioned. I was like, I feel like if you were just like a couple more inches over,
I don't think he would have like anticipated Max could do that.
He was so fast off the get. So in fairness, I think we were all surprised.
It was like, oh, okay, that penalty really did nothing, but anyways,
did nothing.
But he passes Valtteri because Valtteri only ended up like 3rd to 6th, I think.
Yeah,
Valtteri goes down 5 spots to 11. And you're like, oh no.
And then when you see the start, even comparing the two, like Max gets so much speed right away, and you can see Valtteri just does not have the speed that Max does. And then gets caught in this position where like you're in between 2 cars, there's nowhere to go. So of course he ends up dropping back, which is not good for Mercedes, for Lewis, for everything. And in those few sort of laps, we do hear Lewis jump on the radio and be like, where's Valtteri?
Yeah, like I should be able to see him.
Yeah, and he's not here. And unfortunately, someone else got kind of fucked.
And like there wasn't really airtime to see it. You just had to look at the screen on the left to see that Vettel goes from 7th down to 17th.
I don't know what happened there. Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea.
I think they mentioned it very briefly later on in the race and evidently did not write the note down.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what happened? That's 10 spots. That's significant.
It's not great.
But pretty much, yeah, the first few laps were it was a good race for everyone. So it was like behind the Max and the Lewises at the front.
Yeah.
Later on in the race, everyone else in the back, like we had some good racing going on.
100%.
And in the first few laps, Max was a part of those good races. So he needed to pass the AlphaTauri of Gasly. And it was kind of funny because the commentators even sounded a little bit sly when they were saying this, but they're like, oh, that's convenient that Gasly went wide on that turn.
Yeah. And I think the timing was weird because
it was right before the straight, wasn't it?
Yeah. And also Max came up on the radio and was like, I need to like move and get around these, some version of that, just like saying that he needs to get around Pierre Gasly. And then you see Pierre go wide. And I'm like, was this like a weird invert that happened?
Yeah. Which is that allowed with your own team? That's allowed.
Yeah.
And they're the same family, but I don't think that's
no. And I think that Pierre is competitive enough, and with all the stuff that's gone on with Red Bull and Max and stuff, he would have fought, but he definitely went wide. Like
it was just it just
looked weird.
Yeah. Let us know your guys' thoughts, because Caitlin, I'm saying I think it was convenient.
You think
a little bit too convenient?
I think Pierre just went wide, and that was perfect for Max, but he did slow down a lot, and that's what I was just like, I don't know what's going on here, but I don't know. I wanted Pierre to beat Max, so that clearly did not happen.
Right. And then by lap 5,
Max is in P2.
Max makes it up to P2. Yeah. So really, we're
in the good old days.
Nature should be. Right? So they're out in front with no one touching them. The commentators keep going on that they're like 2 or 2.5 seconds faster for lap times than everyone else, and that's astonishing. Like they are just like building this gap. It was like, so by lap 11, it was 17 seconds to Alonso in P3. But then by I can't remember the lap, but they were up to like 30 seconds to the
Yeah.
person in P3, and then it was even more. And you're like,
54
good
seconds.
Lord.
Yeah. It was long.
They're in their own F1.
Yeah, and I think that at some point Lewis got over 9 seconds ahead of Max. So again,
He's just out of
having that traffic, but also just the speed of the car, but also he's just by himself.
just having his own race.
Yeah, just out there. It's fine.
But pitting does come in. It is a hard track for the tires based on Pirelli's infographic, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So the pit strategy did kind of come in.
Yeah, and I would say it was so this whole track, right, is a big test. This is the first time they've ever been on there. So there's a lot of unknowns. And one thing they weren't sure of is if people could overtake.
I'm trying to get away from the microphone.
So Caitlin's eating popcorn. So again, sorry if you hear us crunching away, but yeah, so they were unsure if people could overtake, but then it looks like you can. It's like, okay, great. And then looking at the timing, it was like, okay, is the undercut valuable here was the next question. So Red Bull is the first to pit, and they pit super early. They pit lap 18, and it's with Max. Sorry, I should say this. And it seemed like it was almost an attempted undercut, but not really, because with the timing, it wouldn't have worked anyways.
Yeah, it's like they were already so far in front.
Yeah.
And like you pit and they know Mercedes is going to pit right after them.
Yeah, so that's it. Mercedes pits right after him. I think for Max, though, the good thing, but then again, there was just so much time. So he just comes out before Fernando Alonso.
There's no change.
Lewis did want to stay out longer, but
he specifically went on his radio to be like, my tires are good, don't stop me too early. And then obviously the order came through to be like, no bitch, you're coming in. And he was in like literally 10 seconds after saying that
and didn't say anything. But really quick pit times, like in the 2.3, 2.2. So
yeah, it was quite good. It was only like what they were saying, like Mercedes was only 1/10 slower than the Red Bull, and we know Red Bull has phenomenal pits, so and then no change on that one.
Exactly. And then they pit Sergio Perez. I think we all thought Sergio was on a one stop.
Of all people that could one stop, we thought Perez was going to be the one to do it.
Perez. And then when he does that, Mercedes tells Valtteri, go long, and we'll do a one stop.
Go long. And we're like, oh,
these are words that are going to come haunt them later.
Interesting. So yeah, Valtteri anticipated to go long and do a one stop on this track, where Pirelli has suggested doing two.
So at least two.
Testing the limits, I guess,
of everything. Yep.
Well, I mean, championships on the line. You got to try, right?
Yeah. We saw some really good battles.
Yes, we got some, and like kind of at the beginning it was like the Perez stuff. It was always fun seeing Perez in a very good car.
Yeah.
Fighting like other experienced drivers. Like he gets into a battle with Vettel, who's chasing him after the pits. Well, Perez was chasing Vettel after the pits, and Vettel actually, he won out just because of his defensive maneuvers, which is really cool to see. He pushes Perez to the side, like to the outside, kind of got like Perez was in the dirt and keeps his place. Like Vettel successfully defended him, and so we know that Perez is going to have to come back and try again. He does make his way through, and then he's on to a Perez versus Alonso battle, which was fun to see too. Same corner. I want to say it was turn 1. It might have been turn 4.
I don't know. I don't remember.
It might have been turn 4. Regardless, it was the same corner. But Alonso, who wins that one? LOL, but wins out on Alonso. Perez wins out on Alonso. Not on turn 1, but out of turn 2. Perez does make it clear that he was in the lead. So it's fun seeing them like just having two experienced drivers racing really well against each other.
Yeah, and also like Caitlin said, seeing the defensive maneuvers from Sebastian Vettel, like I feel like we couldn't see like a tap on his own back, we did that virtually for him too. Yeah. And then
we were blurry. There we go.
Fernando Alonso, same thing, where it's like, oh wow, they're really holding their own, and it's cool to see hard racing that isn't leading to like just danger, which we've seen happen this season a lot. So it's interesting. You mentioned something a little bit about tires.
So Norris was on soft tires actually. for his first stint.
And same with Pierre Gasly and some of
a few of them. Yeah. A few started on softs. So you're kind of thinking like they should have pitted sooner, but turns out Norris was one of the last to pit. Well, maybe in the middle, but he did his on softs. So the fact that he made his softs stint last so long, so like lap 26 out of 57 is pretty impressive for tire management for a young kid.
Huge, showing him some skill,
right?
We also saw some racing between Charles, Alonso, and then Perez. I will have to say, like, Perez did a lot of overtaking.
They kept saying Perez must have felt like there was 30 cars on the track because he was always having to overtake people. But I also think I don't want to say that's where he's comfortable. Obviously, you want to be way higher up, but we know he's good at that. We know he's good at charging through the back of the grid, the middle of the grid, whatever he needs to do. Where I think conversely, Valtteri has a harder time adjusting to that. But once he gets in it, he's good. But it just, you can tell. We should also mention at this point, like, Perez has come up pretty well from being in Q2.
Yeah.
But when Bottas went down to whatever, like P, whatever, back there, he's not climbing up very fast.
No, he's really not. And like struggling to get past like the AlphaTauri or Lance Stroll or, you know, just these teams that we know aren't as good as him or that car, frankly. So it's interesting to see the dynamic, I guess, when you see Perez just like throwing everything he's got at getting past him, and then you see Valtteri kind of struggling a little bit, and then getting past people, of course. But it's a very different, I feel like, approach between the two of them.
Yeah. The confidence for overpassing is definitely on Perez's advantage.
So Ferrari did some tandem pitting, which is always like fun to see. I think personally, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
You know, I like it. And they were smooth today, man.
Yeah, they were nice and good. Quick. They had Sainz in first and then Charles, and they were nice and quick and out.
So like we commented that Ferrari's pit team did Carlos with a 2.2 second pit, which is the same as Red Bull did for Max.
Insane.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, we don't see this from these
we
guys,
haven't. No, typically not. So
good for them.
Yeah, glad to see that.
On the flip side,
so let's head over to the McLaren side.
So let's just say Ferrari doing fairly well. You know, some racing, some situations that maybe don't work out so well, but like good.
And like they work well as a team, right? It's like the Carlos goes in and the Charles comes in and they're racing one behind each other the whole time.
Yeah. Danny Rick though, struggling the whole freaking time. And we do find out later why. So we'll dive a bit more into this.
Let's just say it now.
Yeah. So he ends up mentioning this during the post-race interviews, like to both broadcasters that we watch, that as soon as he was in lap 1, that there was
his team told him to like conserve fuel,
like conserve fuel, because there was indicators going off on the car. So he did everything he could, and that's why he dropped back so much.
Because you can't push the car to its limits if you're conserving fuel.
Yeah, but then with that, tires get cold, brakes get cold, and he was just basically coasting, and then was told, okay, speed up now.
Like at the end of the race.
Yeah, right? Which is kind of sucks because at that point, you know,
your race is kind of thrown away.
Yeah, because he spent so long.
He was even saying that, like, he was debating going on the radio to be like, is it even worth it for me to keep racing? Like, I'm not competitive right now.
Exactly. So the team's gonna have to figure out what the fuck happened.
Yes. He was like like Danny Rick, I haven't seen this season get mad. Like he's been visibly frustrated because of his struggles with the car, but this one was like, he was frustrated because he said like they interpreted something wrong, or like the data was wrong, and like it wasn't his fault this time, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not great. Hopefully McLaren can figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But he ended up getting like passed by Vettel and like Geo, which is, I mean, I don't want to talk shit, but like it's like that's not great for McLaren. Around lap 30 again, because he's conserving everything he can, conserving fuel. So
it's not great to see.
Great.
He had like a flashy chrome helmet for this one too. And
know.
Honey badgers are native to Qatar, is what we learned.
Yeah, this could have been the race.
They were supposed to be like, good luck for him.
Just not it.
Also, if you guys look up honey badgers,
they're
horrifying.
So there was like one photo that Caitlin showed me on Google, and he kind of looked like the honey badger, looked a little bit like Ellen Frost, like in in a good way.
It's kind of funny, Shanika.
Anyways, but I do think that frustration kind of was echoed that we saw with Danny with McLaren. Same thing with Lando. And he was not very happy with where he finished. And oddly enough, there was also a little bit of frustration from Carlos Sainz. And that's what surprised me.
Okay, to be honest though, you saying that Carlos, I feel, is never happy.
No, because
even if he gets the podium, he wants to be better than that. He's like, I know I could have done better.
Yeah.
So he's always pushing himself. It's like, come on, guy, you just gotta like,
it's not happy.
Life is supposed to be enjoyed too, you know.
Yeah. So by the end of it, we have obviously Carlos Sainz ends up finishing before Charles, but they are like a 1-2. And I think for Carlos, obviously he always wants to be better, but I think it's quite telling that Charles was able to get up behind him after being so far back.
Yeah.
So does Charles have better pace in the car? Like what's going on? So he was happy with the haul of points for the team. Obviously, like also helps that McLaren wasn't doing so well.
Yeah.
But it's also clear that he wants to do better than Charles on the team. And that showing with both of them always being in tandem, it's kind of like, I'm curious to see how this relationship goes.
I think this is like a proving year for Carlos. I feel like maybe that's why he's being
hard on himself.
Yeah, maybe like that. But I think they're a really cute pair. Like they had a video go out with them like cycling the track, and they're just like having so much fun and like laughing with each other. I'm like, I like them together. Yeah. They're doing really well for Ferrari. I think it's a good idea to keep them together.
So we'll see. Just Carlos Sainz, stop being so hard on yourself.
Yeah. But you touched upon what Lando was saying. Lando was like, he was being sarcastic little shit in his interview from what I saw. The interviewer, like, just, casually, how was that race for you? Like, how do you feel about it? He said, it's good. She said, oh, and then he cuts her off. He's like, that was sarcastic. And I was like, dude, just chill. Why are you like this?
Mentioned he does not like doing interviews. So
where's his PR person wasn't there with him this time to be like, come on,
get it together. Like, just not anyone. It's not the journalist's fault that it didn't go well, frankly.
No, I don't know. He's sassy. It is what it is. There's a lot of sass in this paddock.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why he was so frustrated, and this is kind of the next thing we want to cover, was just the amount of punctures.
Yeah,
it was rough.
That was a great segue.
To watch. It was really rough to watch.
So yeah, this being the first time F1 is at this race, not fully surprised that there was tire issues. Yeah. But that doesn't mean like you want them ever.
No, and I think that the concern is always if someone has a puncture that
it could be catastrophic and like result in a big injury.
An injury, an accident, like there's a huge thing. So as we know, Valtteri was told to go long, and out of frankly nowhere, like there was no indication.
This was the first time we saw it happen.
Yeah, giant puncture,
and you just see him go off into the gravel, and you're like, oh.
Because at that point he was racing for third.
Yeah, like they're thinking they're sticking to this one pit strategy. He stays like 24 seconds from second pit, and he can get that third place on the podium. But no,
his front left tire just goes, and with it, the entire front end just drops, and you're like, oh my god.
And because it was I do not know the terminology despite doing the tire Minnesota a while ago. That was a while ago. They have the actual like circumferential part of the tire, and then they have like the sides. It seemed to be like that's where the collapse was. It was between a side and the actual like
almost the seam,
the part that touches the track. Yeah. So
it was so scary. So he gets passed by Perez, which is not what you like.
Well, also there's like pictures up on Instagram right now being like Alonso got a face full of sparks because like Valtteri's car is literally like just going on the pavement, and Alonso's right behind him and just like sprayed with sparks.
It was super scary. But then also I was watching the race with someone else, and I guess like virtually, I don't know how to say this, but anyways, the things that we were chatting about was just like I was thinking when they hit about that 30-second gap, which they hit with Valtteri being in third, that it was time to pit him. Like I was like, they would be fine. Like this is the time to pit him now. And they didn't. And I think he got 33 laps in on the tires, which
was more than the Pirelli recommended.
Yeah, Pirelli said that you could only do what, 30?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was bad. Like at that point, race is over for him, to be honest. So they do pit him. But
he, because it happened on turn 7.
So they're being track.
Yeah, he had to do like more than half the track still just to get back into the pits to change the tire.
Mm-hmm. Change the tire, but also the front.
Yep. Yeah. So it was like
tore that off.
So poor boy Valtteri, luck does not go his way again.
So he comes out in 14th, and we're like devastated for him because he somehow was actually doing pretty well. Like as much as we were like, he had a hard time getting through all that crowd, he finally got through all that crowd.
He did. Because everyone else pitted, and he did it.
And he should have pit, and he didn't. But it was the left front tire, and that's important to note because
it's not the only one.
Yeah.
Because we had Norris unexpectedly pitting. We're like, whoa, why? So
like,
he unexpectedly pit.
Yeah.
And it because he had pitted once already.
Yeah.
So it was like relatively not that long afterwards. And we're like, why is he doing? And even the commentators were like, I wonder if it's a puncture. But you couldn't really tell. And then in post race, that was why Norris was so mad. Because he's like, it was a puncture and it ruined my race.
So another puncture. And then right after that, we got back-to-back punctures.
The Williams double whammy.
So what did you see on your end? Because on my end, I just saw the yellow flags appear up on like the left-hand side, but it didn't know what the hell happened.
Oh no, I got to see both Williams.
Okay. Yeah. So I just saw like the little yellow flags pop up and then kind of go away to green and then pop up again and then go back to green. But Georgie went.
After Norris, that thing, we have George Russell actually goes through a tire puncture, front left as well.
Yeah.
And he actually leaves some debris on, and I think that's the double wave, the yellow flag.
Yeah.
It could be Latifi. I'm sorry, because Latifi had the same issue happen literally just after George.
And Latifi's was quite
like front left tire. Yeah, his the part that contacts the surface literally like folded over.
Yeah, like it kind of went inside out, and I was like, "How is this?"
Doesn't look normal.
I mean, I think props to all 4 drivers. I mean, at least with Norris, it seems like the puncture wasn't as aggressive, but everyone was able to get off the track safely. But then with Nicholas Latifi, there was a virtual safety car because his car was on some gravel, and unlike George, who was able to get back into the pits, Nicholas Latifi
had to like retire his car out.
Yeah, so it was marshals had to be on the track, like it was just not safe. But he said that everything felt fine.
Yeah, on the radio he's saying it felt fine, didn't even feel a vibration, which is scary. There's no indication that's coming. And so for Williams, they did only have the one pit for this. And Latifi couldn't make it back to the pits. He had to stop on the side. It was turn 10.
Retired. He was done. DNF.
And that's our first DNF. But not long after, it's decided that Bottas is told on the radio to come back to the garage and they'll retire the car.
Yeah, which is shit.
So that becomes, what's his number, Shanika?
It's his 4th DNF of the season, which sucks so bad for him, especially in his final season at Mercedes. Typically, there are 2 DNFs per driver, I would say, per season. So he's double
well exceeded. He has the Mercedes quota.
Yeah.
But Lewis has the 1 DNF from Monza.
Yeah. So
Mercedes, not good.
It's just not great. But
that all happened literally very fast.
Yes. Where we were like, oh my God.
Wild.
And it was pretty much everyone around that 30 lap mark. 30-ish.
But I think they were trying to figure out why Norris had to pit so early because
he was way under that. Yeah. So
not sure. Maybe debris on the track.
Pirelli is going to have to answer those questions.
They're doing an investigation. And I'm scared. If you guys remember, we had our thoughts on the Pirelli investigation from the Baku blowouts. And to be honest, we didn't think they did.
They took no responsibility, which I think is the issue.
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess with this one, they did recommend a 2-stop, but obviously with the blowouts, like what I was hearing in the commentators, they were saying if it's the front tires, it's easier to control where the car is going. If it's the back tires, that's when you're
no control.
Yeah. You're taking someone out, like you have no control. So they're very lucky that nothing happened, but I think the suggestion should have been a firm, it needs to be a 2-stop.
Well, and also it's like, I get that you have to do like the experience is invaluable for Pirelli to understand the characteristics of the track. But should more testing have been done?
Maybe. Truly. We're just coming from a safety perspective, not even who wins.
Yep.
But I will say, you know, Valtteri having to retire the car, not great for Mercedes. At this point, they really need all of the points for the World Championship. They also need to have Valtteri available to steal back that 1 point for the Drivers' Championship, because we are fairly certain it's going to come down to those like 1 or 2 points.
And it's going to come down to the last race.
Yeah, at this point, seriously. So speaking of the closing laps of the race.
So yes, it was quite eventful.
Yeah, it was
right. It's like you had Max and Lewis at the front the whole time and they were not touchable. Everything else that happened behind them was just like a poof.
It was great.
So the closing laps, we have Max actually going on the radio and he talks that vibration is getting worse. And that's scary because you're like, shit.
Yeah.
And then the commentators were saying that they heard that Hamilton had actually said something very similar.
Did, yeah.
So it's like, oh my God. But just hoping like nothing crazy happens. We have Max goes to the pit on that 42 to go back onto mediums. Comes out behind Bottas, but that was unlapped by, before Bottas had to retire the car. Yeah. Bottas passed Max as he was coming out of the pit.
So you know he got lapped.
And it was he unlapped himself, but was subsequently relapped.
Yeah, so per Valtteri. And
so that's just like how far ahead these two guys were, you guys. It was insane.
It was insane.
Perez goes in right after Max, and then Hamilton, of course, answers. So that's the second set of pits for everyone. And then we actually had a fun battle kind of in the closing laps, a DRS train battle for 5th.
Yeah, it was so one of the most important things is that Alonso at this point, baby, is holding on to that 3rd position. And everyone is like, okay, like his team is like, we need to make sure that nothing comes through the back at all. And you know, I think he
went on the radio to his team to be like, tell Esteban to defend like a lion.
Yeah. And it was actually cute to watch because he definitely kept Perez at bay for like enough to hold off him for like 2 seconds, he was saying. At least.
Esteban. Yeah. It's like obviously the pace of Esteban could not hold off
the Red Bull. Absolutely not.
No. But he fought. It was very evident he was trying.
He was trying. But it was exciting to see because you know that's just the beginning of someone's like learning how to be super defensive, and hopefully they get to where Fernando Alonso was with Lewis.
What race was that? That was phenomenal.
I don't remember what race it was.
That was fair.
But he did everything he could because he knew his teammates in front of him.
And he needed to
hold off Lewis, and it was nice to see Esteban do the same. But so looking at this train, the important thing is that Esteban Ocon is leading and he needs to make sure everyone else just stays behind so that Alonso can do what he can and fight to keep that third. So behind him, it was Stroll, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc. Again, Charles, like we mentioned, had moved up at that point. So it was cool to see, but also when you see a DRS train, it's like, oh, what's going to happen here? Like,
right? They're kind of tricky.
Yeah, like where are people going to go? But you know,
but it was fun to see. Yes.
Yeah.
And going back to the whole Latifi thing, Latifi brought out the virtual safety car when he had to retire his car, and that is on lap 55 out of 57.
And this really hurts Mercedes. It helps Red Bull, hurts Mercedes because Max is then able to pit under the safety car, not really lose time. Everyone has to drive. Remember, virtual safety car, they have to drive 40% of their speed.
40% less of their speed.
And he goes on softs to snag that fastest lap.
Yeah. So Max takes advantage of that correctly and pits and goes on to softs. But I think Lewis had either like he passed that opportunity and was coming back around, and it's like you don't know when virtual safety car is going to end, so it's like you risk it and like it ends and you're trapped in the pits. Like
it's not worth it. No.
Just take this so pretty much a sigh of relief though for Alonso, because Alonso still only did his one pit, and his engineers were telling him like, don't go on the curbs, like take care of these tires pretty much. And so with the virtual safety car going 40% slower, it's a lot less stress on the tires.
And he was keeping it quite, they said, tight during the rest of the race, where he was staying like very much in the lane, trying not to go on the curbs. Like, and he came on the radio a few times being like, do I need to pit? And they were like, nope, just stay. Just don't do anything.
So yeah, the virtual safety car, I think it was a sigh of relief for Alonso. Which is very good. Max gets a fast lap in, and like the virtual safety car ended as Lewis had already started his final lap. So his last chance of getting fastest lap point is hindered from the beginning of it. That's from virtual safety car. So he really can't get it, but Max could get it, and Max does get it.
Yeah. And that again sucks for them, but also it's like, all right, this is the best call, to be honest. Like it would be the worst thing to be in there. And we head to our final standings.
Yeah, so kind of exciting because we have them like Lewis and Max in front, and their whole championship battle
continues on, rages on.
Yep. They are now 8 points separated. Max is leading by 8
insane points. That's fucking insane.
So yes, they go into Abu Dhabi, say Lewis wins that and gets fastest lap. They are going in even for the final race of the season. Like it's wild
what we're heading into right now.
This race. So but then we have Alonso in third,
which was huge, I think, for all of us to see. He hasn't been on a podium since
14 years.
Yeah, so since Max basically started in Formula One. So that's super exciting, followed by Sergio Perez. So a good haul of points for Red Bull.
Yeah. But Red Bull remains 5 points under Mercedes. But like Red Bull got a huge haul in this race. Mercedes not as much because Valtteri's a DNF. So that's tight too.
And then followed by Esteban. So great points for Alpine. We'll talk about some things later. Lance Stroll following that. Then Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Norris, Sebastian Vettel, Pierre Gasly, which we'll talk about why he's out of points. Ricardo, Tsunoda, Raikkonen, Geo, and then Mick, Russell, and the person we never talked about. So the one person we never highlighted, which again, we probably should, but the Canadian boy himself.
But we actually we paid attention
this time. We really did.
At these standings, Stroll came in 6th. So that's pretty good.
He, for where he qualified versus like where Vettel qualified, he did really, really well and finished in the points. And it seems like he was consistent like throughout the race.
Yep. Nothing went wrong. It's pretty good. Right. And I remember, so Lando put an Instagram post up. He's like almost as excited as Lance Stroll is, because Lance is like super stoked on like a their paddock tent. I thought that was cute. So like good reason for Lance to be stoked because he did quite well at this race. In the interview after the race, so he was saying like he had a similar sensation in his car to what he had felt at Baku. And we all know Lance was the first one to have the tire blow up at Baku. So that's scary, right? He must have been like, that's not a comfortable feeling. He felt quite a bit of vibration. He said he was holding his breath. So it's like,
that's scary.
A little.
That's scary.
So we talked that like Norris too, he was up after Stroll. He wasn't too happy with the race. He felt the team could have done better. And then Leclerc was kind of weird.
Like he wasn't happy with
No, but Leclerc was like sitting, waiting for his turn to come up to F1 TV interview. And it was just kind of like you could see him like he was taking pictures with fans. It was cute, but then he's just like sitting there waiting for Lando to finish. And Lando's commenting that like, oh, Ferrari, like they did really good, like and talking about the Ferrari McLaren battle. And I'm like, Leclerc's right there. I don't want to bring him up. Like that could have been good, but they didn't. When Leclerc comes up, he wasn't too happy either, to be honest. But he's like, it was so contradictory in his interview. And I wonder, because English, I don't think it's his first language.
Yeah.
But he's saying like, I'm not happy with the P8, but he's also talking about like, I'm impressed we got to where we were today. And I was like,
you what?
So are you happy? Are you not? I don't know. But I sensed a bit of frustration.
Probably the same frustration as Carlos.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's also because coming after 3 weeks of racing and traveling so much, maybe people are just like
cranky.
Yep.
They need to see their girlfriends, they need to go to bed, they eat some food. Maybe their jet lag is hitting.
Middle East now for the next until December
Till the end,
12th.
yeah.
Do they stay there or do they go home?
I don't know. Probably.
I don't think that far.
Yeah, I would
if
think
they live
probably
in
try to
Europe.
go home.
Yep. But yeah, we have off-track drama 2.
We're gonna talk about, yeah, well, we'll close it with Christian, obviously. But something to note about Fernando Alonso, he mentioned earlier this week that him and Lewis really don't get along like they used to.
Yeah.
And you can tell on the podium that you can tell that it's warmer with Max than it is with Lewis.
Yeah, like Alonso goes over to Max is like with the champagne, like talking and like spraying him. And then it was colder with him and Lewis. So.
Yeah. And I think it's likely just really long history. They've raced together for so long. It was also funny in an interview, I think with Sky News, maybe after the race, they're like walking with Fernando and kind of like following him around the paddock. And Fernando's like, I feel like I worked really hard to get this position, like to be on the podium. He's like, no offense to the other drivers, like they're really great, but the other seasons, you know, when it's been against Lewis and Max, a lot of the time, if someone ends up on the podium, it's because something crazy happens. So whether it's both of them DNF or they take each other out or one of them DNFs or just something goes to really, really wrong, that's how everyone ends up on the podium. But he's like, I worked my ass off and got up on the podium, which I was like throwing a little bit of shade to everyone else, but like good for him.
Like kind of.
Yeah, it's good. So speaking about Alpine,
yep,
we wanted to like highlight just what a loss this was for AlphaTauri.
So they came into this equal on points, did they not?
Yeah, they came into this equal. They had Yuki in 7th, P7,
and they had Pierre starting P2.
P2 people. And they lost 25 points to their rivals.
They didn't get any. AlphaTauri got none.
Single one.
And Alpine got the 25. So
it's a huge issue. I don't know what the team is going to say. I was really surprised personally to see Pierre drop back. Like we knew he couldn't hold that position, but then when you end it and Alonso's in 3rd, it means that likely the AlphaTauri could have held some sort of position.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure. Like, let's be clear. Alonso and Esteban Ocon finished in the points. They did
like
not
3rd and 5th, like pretty good.
So it's really curious to see them just not do so well. I was very concerned for them. Anyways, I don't know what kind of conversations they're going to have back at home base because something really went wrong today.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see because it's like, I don't know. They should have got points.
Yeah, they should have got points. And it just did not happen. But it was worth celebrating Alonso. So he hasn't been on a podium in a long time, hey?
Since Hungary 2014, they say. So it hasn't been 14 years. My bad.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And it was 2014.
Yeah. And this was the 98th podium for him. Somehow the one stop worked. He also won driver of the day.
That was exciting. Good on you, Fernando.
Yeah.
So their team
is so
cute on the radio.
It's cute. He I don't know who I don't even know their team, which sucks. Yeah. But they were basically like, get in there, beauty. So happy. And I also think it was great that Alain Prost was there for that race too, because he was there and around. And when he was being interviewed, he definitely dropped the F-bomb, and
it was like,
I didn't even notice it, to be honest.
It was a very, very quiet,
subtle,
very quick.
Yeah.
And then one of the commentators, like, they didn't catch it on live TV, so they're like, "Oh, we're gonna apologize for his language," and I'm like, "It's the least of your concerns."
Yeah.
You have Christian and Helmut Marko to deal with for censoring stuff. They say a lot of stuff.
They say some stuff. But yeah, so it was really good to see him on a podium.
Yeah, it was. You could tell. It's been a while since he was on a podium. It was like small things. He took his hat off for respect of the anthem, and Lewis being in first, so is the British national anthem, and then Alonso goes to put his hat back on, and because there's a second anthem that plays, so he has to like take it off again. So that was funny, and then also he passes after all the celebrations up on the podium and spraying each other. actually like finds a way to get his champagne bottle like down from the podium to his team.
Oh, that's sweet.
And it was very cute.
Yeah.
I'm like, at first I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, are you gonna drop that? Are you insane? But then he like crouched down and like handed it to someone.
Team.
So it's very good. And then you see like his team like walk away, like they're shaking up the ball, they're ready to spray each other. Very cute.
Yeah, I hope that someone sends over champagne to, because we know that during the McLaren 1-2 that Mercedes, and I think the Mercedes team sent over more bottles of champagne to McLaren so they could celebrate.
Oh,
having Alpine get on the podium first, like they won a race this year, but then also have Fernando Alonso, who's this ultimate legend, who's in his 40s, which this, I think this proves their age is fucking nothing, by the way, in the sport. So he comes back and is in third, and I hope they send over more bottles so that they can celebrate, because it's a huge thing.
He's gonna celebrate just fine.
Yeah.
He's gonna have Fernando does seem like he would be a fun time to celebrate with.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's also, I don't know, like I said, Alan Prost is there, the team is so excited. Like, as much as you see the checkered flag go and you see Lewis and everyone, I was like, all eyes were on Alpine, because they were so stoked to have all those points. But yeah, to be on the podium. We're gonna close today's episode talking about some post-race stuff
with our favorite team principal,
Christian Horner. He was called to the stewards, and we saw it from, it was What the F1, right? Like, yeah, that it popped up on Instagram, and we were like, what is going on? And also, I did not know that the team principals could be called by the stewards.
Yeah, me neither.
So,
but like, I think it's well deserved.
So he was called to the stewards because I suppose earlier that day, he basically called one of the marshals or all the marshals incompetent, which I said in the handbook, you can't like say those things about marshals and the FIA and things like that. And I thought it was like, I thought it was funny that he got called in. And the best part is the visual that we got from Caitlin's F1 TV stream. Like, I think you were making, did you catch it? Making breakfast, maybe. Yeah. Anyways, it's him like heading to the steward's office with like a giant camera crew behind him. And I think it might have been Netflix or something, but I thought it would be
fun to see.
So funny, because it wasn't just like, like a vlogging camera. It was like a full camera person with an audio person heading in and behind him. And I was like, this is so awkward. But then he comes out and gets interviewed by Damon Hill and crew, and he does not handle taking punches well. They were basically like, oh, you've been like kind of emotional. And he's like, I don't get upset. And they're like, yeah, but being called by the stewards and stuff like that. And his apology was shit. He basically said, if I offended you, I apologize, or I'm sorry, which, Caitlin, is that an apology?
That's not how you apologize.
So this is a note to everyone.
Okay, we're going to elaborate. When you're apologizing to someone, it's not their reaction, right? Yeah. It's like you take responsibility for what you said. Yeah. It's like they can react however they're going to react because of what's happened to them before, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, you don't control their emotions. Yeah. You control how you handle your situation and like what words you can say. Okay, that's what you apologize for.
Yeah, you don't say,
not for what someone else takes. Okay,
their reaction.
No, that's not how you do things.
A simple like, I'm sorry, like it shouldn't have happened would have been fine. But the fact that he said, I'm sorry if I offended him, I'm like, guy, that's not it.
And this is exactly why he just rubs us the wrong way, you guys.
But in this interview with Damon Hill, when they were calling him emotional, he which, I actually think that maybe there's a larger conversation that needs to happen about men can be emotional. It is fine. It's not a knock to be like, I think they were just trying to tease him a little bit and say like, you are like this, as much as you're saying like, because he was saying like, oh, we're not, like Red Bull's fine. You don't see us being emotional. I'm not swearing and flipping off the camera like some other people, which is a stronger reaction. But I think he didn't understand that they were just kind of teasing him more than anything. So he didn't like that too much. And it was just so funny just watching these interviews, because you can tell he's not happy in the way that he's being portrayed. Anyways, to close this, I guess typically it could have been a fine, but he just got a warning from the stewards on how to behave.
I think you could have set precedents. That's pretty bad to say.
But the thing is, the Helmut Marko is is also just talking so much shit. In particular, he was also, this is from Twitter again, so I'm not sure what feed or newscast was showing it, but he was going on TV also insinuating that Lewis was given something. We don't know what was pressed into his palm.
Like Angela's pressing something into his palm.
We don't know what it is. So I think there's probably an argument to be made that Helmut Marko also needs to be kind of reprimanded somehow.
Well, I think reprimation is required. I don't know if the FIA gets involved in Helmut's case.
Yeah.
I think it's full on defamation, and like Lewis's camp can do something about Helmut.
Yeah.
But FIA, you can do something about Christian. Don't take shit from these team principals being so rude to volunteers.
Yeah, and this goes both ways. Like if Toto is off offending people, so him like swearing, yeah, fine him too, because it's not. If people are upset and if there's a precedent that needs to be held, then like hold people to that.
How often, even in this first season, we're doing this podcast, have we said Christian just he doesn't say things you should be saying in public that are recorded and kept forever. Like,
yeah,
where's the buffer for him?
We've already mentioned it once this episode, but you know, the media training I think needs to be done all over again.
Well, apparently, so he's not doing media training. Well, he probably is, but part of like what he said, he apologizes for this incident and like for calling the marshal incompetent, but he's also going to be doing a what was it? WTF1 commented he's going to be going to like some sort of training in February 2022.
Oh, the stewards.
Yeah, for like how the stewards work, pretty much.
So
okay, that's good. You won't be calling anyone else incompetent, I hope. But also, you still should do more public training.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. It feels like a giant gap, and they've had so many issues with having to apologize after. Before, and it's not just Red Bull. I think it's just been more prominent with Red Bull because it's not just Christian Horner, it's Helmut Marko too.
And Max. And Max's dad.
Yeah. So I think that's where the little like why there's a bit more focus. But even with, you know, I didn't love so much. I don't know if it was the last race or the race before where Toto kind of like threw Valtteri under the bus for something. I was like, I don't like that. And we saw Lewis right away, like jump on Instagram and be like, no, we win and lose as a team. Like this is a team thing.
Yep.
So I think it's just like emotions are running high, but it's also like Red Bull, you know, you've got Max's dad, like you said, saying whatever, Christian Horner saying whatever, and Helmut Marko just totally on a different planet. So just need to rein it in a little bit. Like you're going to get upset. It's quite close right now. Mm-hmm. But
you're not going to win with words like this or like trying to put someone under the bus that like, oh, they're getting drugs pressed into their hand. No, that's not how you're going to win the championship.
Or when he said that I think we got Sonoda, like, okay, yeah, shitting on a junior team member, not great either. So I think that with all team principals, everyone's going to be shitty, but I'm hoping that as they're going through this season that they're learning, like, this is not good. Like, we're not handling things well.
I hope someone in Red Bull is recognizing this and
same
bringing
with
it forward.
Like I said, same with Mercedes. When Mercedes made that little snafu, I was like, no, I don't like that. So hopefully a conversation was had and an apology, or good apology.
That's why made. You know, team principals like Andreas Seidel, a true quiet Capricorn. Toto's a very, very extroverted Capricorn from what it looks like, but Andreas Seidel does not cause issues like this.
No, it's very much he's working behind the scenes. So maybe we need to stop thrusting cameras and microphones in the faces of Toto Wolff and Christian Horner.
Maybe
tone him down a little bit. Also,
don't give them the screen time if they're going to be like this.
And can we just talk about the fact that Toto's just so huge? When he was on screen with Damon Hill and Jenson Button, I was like, I don't know.
But Jenson Button's tall too, isn't he?
Yeah, I also think it was the camera placement. So Toto was close for the camera.
Oh, okay.
Versus the other three. But I was like, oh my God, dude, like you're big. It's a tall lad. Anyways, that's it for this episode. Caitlin, where are we heading to next on the Grand Prix schedule?
So it is another brand new track. They are literally still building it, you guys.
Makes us nervous.
For Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. Yep. That is December 5th.
Mm-hmm.
We will be I think we're going to have Courtney join us for the post-race debrief. So Shanika will be here in Calgary.
Courtney will be on.
Courtney's in
Toronto.
Ontario. Yeah. I'm going to be in Hawaii. But you guys, you know, like, Hawaii time
Caitlin's about to get screwed with Hawaii time.
So the races are going to be so early.
I know, and I told her like maybe
I am dedicated. I will make this work.
We have 3 time zones going, so we're gonna have to figure out what time we want to record. So I don't know. And for December 12th, which is the final race of the season, Caitlin will be flying back home that day.
But it's okay because the race starts at 3 a.m. Hawaii time.
It's gonna be a tough go for you, gal. I'm giving her full permission to just watch it later.
I'm dedicated. I'm gonna sleep on the plane. It's direct back to Calgary, which is very appreciated.
So we'll see what ends up happening. But Caitlin, with 3 races left, do you think it's leaning one way or another? Is it too close to call? I feel like all of our next little bit of episodes are going to go this way. I'm sorry, we're a little blurry.
Super blurry. Well, no. Okay.
There we go. Where do you think it's gonna go?
I don't know. Maybe Red Bull can snatch constructors. Maybe. And maybe Lewis can bag the first place for drivers.
Yeah.
Unless, this is the conspiracy. Do we go into conspiracies? Because if they go in level to Abu Dhabi or like with Max 1 or 2 points ahead, does AlphaTauri come into play to help sabotage Mercedes? Does Checo do something? Does Max do something? We don't know.
And I guess those are the wild cards that we don't know, because this podium shows that some of these cars can beat the other ones. It's all about placement, track placement, and grid placement where you're at. And Alonso, surprised, no one thought he'd get third.
I actually and the only reason I bring up conspiracy theories is because I don't actually put it above these teams at this point.
With everything we've learned over the last little bit, I would agree. So we're not certain. I'm also not certain. We know going into the next race on paper, it should favor Mercedes. Toto also made some comment that the Brazil engine was not used in the car. I think he was joking. So that they're going to use the Brazil engine in the next 2 races, which is what made them so bad. I don't know. I think he was joking. So we'll see. But I do think the constructors is a giant question mark because
Checo and Max are consistent and Valtteri's not right now.
Yeah, he's really been struggling. And then we have these other external things, like if someone, again, during qualifying does not slow down for yellow flags, or if something else goes wrong in qualifying in general, what will end up happening? New track. So don't know, but we know it's going to be a fight to the very end, which is kind of scary, to be honest.
It's exciting. This is why I will wake up at 3 a.m. to watch that Abu Dhabi race.
I'm just trying to think about, I can't do the math, but I'm like, okay, so one of them DNFs next race, like trying to just do all the math, if Valtteri places,
there's so many ways it could go either or.
It's all over the place.
Only time will tell.
But both drivers seem really fit.
And this morning, Fergie put my boy cat put his prediction in for Max. And Clover, the girl cat, put her prediction in for Lewis for Drivers' Championship. So
you can't, for the audio listeners, we're both shrugging because I'm like, hands are up in the air. We don't know what's going to end up happening, but
it's exciting.
Been the best season of Formula One. And I'm so excited for next year. With that, friends, follow us on.
We're blurry again.
We're blurry. Sorry for the visual watchers, which apparently we have anywhere from 20 to 11 depending on the episodes. But sorry that we're having a hard time today. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter @GetCheckered. If you haven't yet, I just saw our stats for most recently for today. And it looks like a lot of you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, which is great. Make sure you rate and review us. It helps people find the podcast. So do that. We're also on YouTube, so you can see our facial reactions and multiple chins and my unwashed hair. So subscribe there and join us. And we will still be releasing episodes, even after the races.
Yeah. You guys can still expect an episode every week.
Yeah, until the end of the year. And then we're going to pre-record them, though, I'm fairly certain, so we can get a break.
Yes.
But yeah, what do we say, friends?
Okay, yes, stay checkered.
Bye, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.